Hey everybody, how is it going? It is RambleCast time. This is what we like to call May 31st. Don't know why. And I got a Corbin here.
Hi. I am in fact here.
So it's post Memorial Weekend. I don't know about you, I don't know about anybody else, but Oregon Highway Patrol has announced over 2,000 speeding tickets issued over the weekend. Yay, we did it. God, I hate this. Anyway, which happens to be, and I wish I was kidding, happens to
High
be
score.
almost half of all the things that Oregon Highway Patrol did for the weekend.
Well,
Literally.
Didn't, shoot anyone for no reason. I guess that's a win.
I want to know where this statistic came from, but I saw somebody in comments said that there were 17 mass shootings this weekend. I have no idea if that's true. I'm sure somebody will probably look this up and go, well, technically, or
Oof. Austin saying I'd be speeding too just to get out of Oregon.
I mean, where are you gonna go?
That's true.
You're headed up to Washington, which, I mean, have you driven with Washington drivers? It's not good. Or you're headed down into Northern California, which, boy, not great either. When you get down to Middle California, it starts getting okay, but yikes.
Entirely me when I visit family in Georgia. And I'm going through South Carolina. Ideally, I don't stop in South Carolina. I don't want to.
Well, you've got to put your special red sticker on your car.
Yeah, I got to deploy the patent pending sign. We're planning that out right now. Stay tuned.
Yes, the dynamically changing sign that advertises different political affiliations based on GPS.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't even have to be like entirely political. Like you could monetize it too.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. Like, how companies keep paying for like ad space on the side of buses so they can get like good regional advertising. Like it could also do that automatically. And
actually
potentially give you a cut of the profit. Maybe I could do what Elon Musk said and never delivered on, which is giving you a cut of my ad
revenue. Or you could do what he said and never delivered on, paying his rent.
Yes. I you know what? I was gonna say something, but that's inappropriate, so I'm not going to. But
really, this is, you draw the line this time.
Well, it was because I was about to compliment Elon Musk on something. I decided.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Okay, that is inappropriate.
No. So speaking of Elon Musk, I don't know, what are we talking about?
Whoa, I'm like, wait, what? You lost me on that one. Okay, so I've got a transition. Speaking of things that claim to be intelligent but aren't really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bing? Are we doing
Bing? Bing.
Okay. All right. That's good.
You like that?
I thought we were going to talk about my in my browser. I have the Reddit thing as the first tab. So I was like, speaking of Elon Musk, Reddit copying him.
That would have. Well, yeah, that would have actually been a good transition.
It's fine. I can talk about Bing. So yeah, we're still in the midst of these AI chatbots radically changing as they get more time to be worked on, and Microsoft announced last week actually that well, first of all, there was the whole everything from the Build conference. Was it last week or the week before? I don't remember. It feels like 3 months ago now, but
it was last week.
Okay, yeah, they announced a bunch of stuff going into Windows and stuff, but they also was talking about how um, they're working on plugin support. So one of the things you get right now, if you pay for ChatGPT, which I don't know why you would do such a thing, but some people are, and
Well, supposedly the
when
good version is worth it. GPT-4.
it is better, sort of. I don't know.
Oh, that's a resounding.
Whatever. But yeah, so right now, if you pay for ChatGPT Premium, you can use the new version. They do have a new collaboration with Bing, so now ChatGPT can supposedly search the web in almost the same way as you can with Bing, but here it's like a toggle, and there's some other like ecosystem stuff. And Microsoft also confirmed that the new version of ChatGPT has plugins, so like it'll be able to plug in with third-party services. So like they used a demo of like you're looking up restaurants in an area, and then you're using a plugin to like just book a dinner at these places, just all in the conversation. Um, which I think in the long term is probably going to be the main practical use for all this stuff, is like just everything having a natural language front end, with like a data set that you're working with that is not like the language model that keeps making stuff up. I think that's probably going to be the best use for this stuff moving forward. But Microsoft had also announced that they're working on plugins for Bing, and that it would be based on the Chat GPT stuff. And in this blog post, I don't know if they said this before. I'm pretty sure they didn't. But what I found interesting here is that they say Microsoft is working with OpenAI to make sort of a common platform for these plugins. So the idea is that if I'm a company, I'm building one of these plugins, it's going to work in ChatGPT, it's going to work in Bing Chat, it's going to work in the Windows Copilot, which is the Bing Chat in the Windows 11 desktop thing. It's going to work in like whenever that Office stuff shows up, and that's pretty interesting. And between that and the Bing stuff and ChatGPT, my sort of takeaway from this is I wonder where both of these products are going to converge, because basically right now they're just doing like convergent evolution. Basically, like they're kind of morphing into the same thing with like a different UI and technically a different company under them. Which like was already kind of true, but like Bing Chat set itself apart by having like internet access, basically. But now that same Bing is now in the experimental version of ChatGPT, and Bing is getting the plugins that originated for ChatGPT. So this stuff does make me wonder. Like right now, like I don't think either of these none of these companies have like announced anything long term like this. I'm sure they're probably talking about it behind closed doors, but I do wonder what the end result will be once these companies stop rushing everything out the door and have a chance to like plan out like what these products should be. Like, are we just going to get one thing? Because it would be kind of weird to have like these two things that are basically the same product, but they're separate because they're under separate companies, but still not really, because Microsoft is a huge investor in OpenAI, and OpenAI in turn is using all of Microsoft's Azure servers. So I do this does make me curious, like where we'll get to. Like, what does this look like in a year? Is there just like one bot that we all use? I don't know. Is ChatGPT going to turn into sort of like a I can see it almost being like just a like developer console. Like this is where you get the like base experience thing, and the more like consumer focused product thing with more features is in Doom. I'm kind of curious what happens here.
Oh boy. So, well, I think the inevitability of this is one for Windows users. Yes, that's pretty much how life, I think, is intended to go, at least from Microsoft's perspective, because the Copilot stuff, the plugins, like all of that is infrastructure that is being pumped really heavily into the OS. That said,
And the Windows stuff also was legitimately nice. Like I've seen some people already build similar apps like this for Mac, and I think there's probably already one for Windows. But I think that's where the benefit from all this is like just being able to do stuff like a virtual assistant was supposed to, but in a way that's a little bit more. I don't want to say intelligent because that's not what these tools are, but like in a manner where more things can be controlled with sort of a conversational tone. I guess just sort of in the same way that like if you're talking to like a customer support person, you can like say multiple things in a sentence and they'll like keep track of it. Whereas like talking to, you know, Cortana, Alexa, whatever, is like talking to a like automated support system. But yeah, no, the Windows stuff is really impressive, especially the fact of like being able to like process files on your computer is something like that's really the main use I've tried to get out of Bing so far. It's not really that good at it, which is why I haven't done that a lot, but that's definitely a nice use. Like I did try for work a while ago where I had a company that was announcing a bunch of laptops, and they sent me specs tables for all of them in a PDF, and I just opened the PDF in Edge and I told Bing like, hey, can you just make this into one table with like each thing as a column? And it did almost do that. It got confused a little bit, but so
yeah, so and I think, you know, you asked me ahead of the stream if I covered this subject, and it occurs to me I think I did actually talk about this a little bit, specifically because I remember now that I think about it, I could have also just been thinking this to myself, but I remember kind of ranting about the fact that this seems to be kind of the strategy to make Windows relevant again. Because so I saw somebody say something very interesting, or I think very interesting. Somebody basically commented that Windows is just a Chromebook with games, which is a weird take at first, but when you consider how much, or rather how little anyone is doing native app development for Windows these days, that kind of tracks.
Yeah.
Like
I did say that in my Discord, but I copied it from a friend who works at Microsoft. He said that. So
oh crap. Okay.
It's fine. You don't know the person.
Okay. No, it doesn't matter because I think I've seen this said elsewhere anyway.
Yeah. I don't know if that was his original thought, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I knew it, or I thought it came from that Discord, but I wasn't sure who said it or what. But anyway, but it is the moment I saw it, it's like, yeah, that's entirely true because no one's doing native app development for Windows, and there's certainly native app development for Mac, but I wouldn't say it is super widespread. It's a lot of web apps in general, and that tendency. Or, well, a lot of web apps and a lot of sort of universal development, like, things like OBS, which are developed on a code base that can be at least cross-compiled to pretty much anything. Except OBS is a bad example because it's also, very, very like complicated in its support for each OS. But yeah, the reality of it is Microsoft came up with a reason people should actually want to have Windows again, besides games. And that's a pretty good selling point. The AI features that it is trying to pitch, while certainly not going to be 100% reliable, and there's going to be some probably a few goofy years before things really smooth out. The practical reality is there's a reason people should want to be there instead of Mac OS. And obviously, like if you're on Linux or Chromebook or Chrome OS for any particular reason, you're there for a specific reason. But when it comes down to it, a lot of people are switching to Mac OS because, look, no matter what anybody says, it is just a more nicely developed OS in general, and it tends to be more stable. And for that reason, people have been switching. Plus, there's a level of trendiness to it, and again, there's at least some native app development, so people clearly do care about it. The same, it's just harder to say that about Windows right now. And all of a sudden, Microsoft just recreated the reason people should want to be on Windows, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
To that point, I know, or I feel pretty confident, Apple is not about to announce something similar. And I think this is the first time in a while Apple really needs to stop and go, holy crap, we got to have an answer for this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, because like I don't know who I saw said this, but I've seen it kind of discussed that Apple, it definitely feels like Apple won't have an equivalent to this until they get something that can run locally on device, which I think will be interesting, but potentially take a long time.
Oh yeah,
because all of this right now barely works when Microsoft gives it all of its enterprise servers. So
yeah,
that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, so I'll agree to that, but with a bit of a caveat. So obviously yes, getting something that runs locally is going to be pretty key to this. However, I think what matters here is actually less about the really deep AI that obviously Microsoft and everyone else is showing off, and more the interactions that they have enabled. So, in other words, the things that are really cool that Microsoft is doing is creating like that plugin interface where the chat bots that they've developed will be able to do things through those plugins. That part is the interesting part. And Apple doesn't really have that. They have like the baby version of this, which is shortcuts. What they need is now to have some way of upgrading Siri to be intelligent enough to be able to make good use out of shortcuts and the plugins that are involved. That's the part that they need to accomplish. It doesn't have to be this super big, complicated AI that takes tons and tons of processing. It needs to be just good enough. And I think that would cover like probably 80 to 90% of what people will actually end up wanting to do with what Microsoft just announced. And that's the key thing here. Plus, to be fair, Apple, yes, could do the like all on device AI kind of stuff, but I don't think that's what they want to do, I don't think that's what would work for them either. But I think if they basically said, we could do what you're asking for, but we would have to send this to Apple to do this. Oh, all right, Corbin back.
Oh, sorry, my Chrome freaked out.
So, so I do think that this is doable with like 80% of requests are handled on device, and then 20% it's got to be like, is it okay if we send this to Apple to process this? At which
I
point,
mean, that's what it sounds like. Alexa and Google Assistant are going to do, based on all the industry reporting, is like they're going to keep the current infrastructure because, like, honestly, it's good enough. Like, Google Assistant is fine. I don't think Siri is really in that spot necessarily, but like they could make it a lot better while still keeping it local. And then just hand off more complicated stuff to the other providers, and that'd be fine.
yeah,
Like I even said, like when I wrote about Google Assistant a month or two ago, I was like, I mean, like Google Assistant's fine. Like I don't really know what more people want from it in terms of like basic controls of on-device stuff, like you can tell to turn the flashlight off or take a camera picture, or that kind of stuff. Like it's been fine for me for years in that regard. It's really just like what I try to use Bing for is more just somewhat complicated web searches, which none of the assistants are good at, and processing local data into other things, or like giving it a block of something and asking it to turn into something else. So anyway, I do hope someone will copy that cool Windows thing and put it on Mac, and I'll pay like $1 or $2 a month for it if they can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, good luck. Well, depending on how much you use it, that could be reasonable, but which this wasn't part of our topic list, but that almost necessitates bringing up the Adobe thing, which we forgot to mention as a possible topic.
Oh yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the Adobe thing because I did play with it and it wasn't really, I don't know, it's just kind of fine. But
right. It's not magic yet, but
where did I wrote about that. Okay, I'll put it in the. I'll send it to you.
Either way. By the way, I'll paste the link to the Bing thing into chat. Forgot to do that earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
And...
Adobe last week rolled out a beta version of some AI stuff in Photoshop, and I did download it, but I only played with it for like 20 minutes, and then I had other work to do, and then I forgot about it. It's the extent of my use for this, but basically they've added a new generative fill feature in Photoshop where you can select part of an image and then type in a text prompt what you want it to do, and it will try to do it. And so it's kind of it's kind of weird. Like if you watch their video on the page they have, which I need to mute that. Wow, that's loud.
Yeah, it is very loud.
Yeah, so like they show off like selecting part of a picture of like someone driving on a road that doesn't have lines on it, like traffic lines, and say put traffic lines here, and it puts them there. And other things like that where you can like select part of an image to just have it fill with something. They also showed off how this works in conjunction with the stuff that I think is already in the stable version of Photoshop, I'm not sure, but where you can click a button and it will try to figure out what the subject of the image is for you, and then that's your selection mask.
So I could be wrong, but I think that's only in Lightroom. Maybe it's in Photoshop, but I know they had that in Lightroom. Either way, it looks like they improved it a lot.
Yeah, like that's nice. Like I think anyone who's used Photoshop for a while knows the annoyance of trying to very carefully with your shitty mouse not made for this task, select a person from an image and make sure not to, have to go back and take things in and out of the selection, or use the magnetic lasso and hope for the best. So, like, that part alone is kind of cool. This is potentially cool, but when I tried it, it was kind of giving me weird results. Now, granted, mostly my use case for stuff like this is removing things from images. So, like, I was trying it on pictures I took at Disney World, where there's like, someone walking in front of a thing, and I try to, select that area and go take out the person or another task, and I wasn't really good at that. And I tried it, and like, in theory, that's something you would use the content aware fill for, but that's never been like that very heavily depends on the area you're trying to remove. If there's like a complicated pattern or something, it's gonna freak out and look really weird. It's great, absolutely amazing for removing dust particles, and like, if you take a big picture and there's like someone like in the corner or something, like that has been pretty impressive. That's like the number one reason why, like, because I have thought about this occasion where I'm like, do I really need to pay Adobe? Like, I can really just go back to using, like, honestly, like Photoshop CS3. Like, that was fine for what I need to do. But the content aware features they've built over time are actually nice. And so this is kind of a like different version of that, but more for replacing and adding things in images, not really for taking things out, which is what I want most of the time. But I don't know. Again, like, I haven't played with this a lot, so maybe it hasn't like fully clicked for me yet. But...
So obviously, yeah, like we've all seen some of the various ways in which image generation can go different directions. And like, you and I both watched that Flurn video where the guy at Flurn basically just was, like, mind blown, just demonstrating and playing around with it, and everything was going super well until all of a sudden he asked for it to, generate a cloud. And all the clouds that it generated except for one were these bright pink, completely did not fit the scene, looked wrong. So it looked almost like cotton candy floating in the sky. Like, it was weird. So yeah, AI obviously can still screw up and get it wrong. But what kind of stood out to me, or a couple things stood out to me. One of them that I haven't been able to stop thinking about is how this is going to become the next big separator between sort of the pro and the amateur, because Adobe is going to start charging credits for using this, and regular subscribers will get X number of credits. It's not really clear how many. And then if you want to use more AI, you're going to have to pay more. And the thing that I have a feeling we're going to end up seeing is there are going to be like the quote unquote pros who will have, they're going to be paying for, $500,000 worth of credits every month, and they're just going to be flying through stuff. And because they pay for this, it'll turn into big profits, whereas other people won't be able to afford it because, they're going to be sitting there being the plebs hand editing everything.
Did they confirm that they're going to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, okay. So I don't think that they said this in a event format, but people have asked them, and Adobe, people have talked to Adobe reps directly and been told outright that there is a plan to introduce credits, and the specifics haven't been announced yet, or they haven't been worked out yet. It is unclear which of those is true, but yeah. Either way,
I mean, That's fine with me because like the alternative is just raising the price of Creative Cloud for everyone to subsidize like everyone's usage,
Yeah.
and I would much prefer the you know, pay for what you use thing if they're gonna do this,
Yeah, presumably,
because
well,
I will probably not use this very much because again, I it's not really like for what I need usually.
the irony is, I would think you would get more use out of it because you would be able to. It would be good for making hero images for articles where you're literally just like, huh, I need a way to put together these two things that have never really been associated before, and I don't want to try to edit the like I have a good idea for it, but I don't want to try to edit these two completely different image types together. I would think that that'd be really convenient for you. Add a red binge to all of your review photos.
Yes, that'll be really important.
I mean,
Um,
obviously.
yeah. Oh, also, I forgot to mention on the stream, but I'm proud to announce the days of Blurry Corbin on the RambleCast are over. The national nightmare is over because I have got a little light above me right now. I bought the Logitech Litra on sale. Litra thing. It's just a little like square light thing. If I turn on my, you can't see it well because I still have the blur on, but you can see the general haze. And it's got buttons on the back to change the brightness and tone and stuff. And I've wanted to buy one of these for a very long time because back when I was using that Razer camera, it just had a ring light on it. It was perfect. But then that stupid camera broke because it was built like ass. And so I've been back on my Logitech C720. And I would have preferred to buy a new webcam that just had that built in so I don't need to plug in two things and have two things, you know, on the top of my monitor and whatever. But Logitech doesn't seem to want to do that for whatever reason. They just will keep re-releasing this one camera with like things attached that aren't lights until the end of time. So that's it.
Oh, hey, this light has USB-C on the back. That's nice.
That was a pleasant surprise. It has USB-C and you can replace the cable. You can use a different cable. I was shocked by that. I didn't think Logitech discovered that technology.
No, for real.
If you go look at like even their newest webcams, they're still doing the stupid like
fixed cable with
fixed cable coming out the back of the webcam
and USB-A, if I recall. I don't think any of their webcams switched to C yet.
I think at least one of them is C, but yeah, I mean it's so. Yeah, this is nice. It doesn't like perfectly fit at the top of my monitor because the back of my monitor is like curved kind of, but it's fine.
So this also leads me to really being curious about, so is the Litra brand now owned by Logitech? I did not know that. Or is it? It kind of looks like it is. It is. Okay. Officially, I just followed their link tree to the Litra website, which promptly redirects to Logitech's top level site, which is kind of not helpful. Actually, that's really dumb, but I think that's confirmation. I actually was supposed to review something from Litra like 8 years ago. The review kind of got smashed in the process, but I've wanted to review some of their stuff for a while again, so maybe I'll reach out now that it's Logitech. That should ease the it's a small company burden.
Yeah. Again, I would prefer if Logitech just made a nice webcam that had a ring light built into it.
That would be nice.
They won't. I don't know why. Like again, they really like making the same webcam but with slightly different changes over and over again, but I guess a light is just too much. That's too complicated.
Um,
Or they know like people might like me will just buy this and a webcam. I don't know, but yeah. But yeah, like I did do a before and after picture in like one of the like some chat with friends, and someone was like, "Wow, that looks like a completely new webcam." And yeah, like crazy what a light will do. Again, really wish Logitech would sell me a webcam with a light on it, even if it's like one of the stupid like ones that are over $100.
I mean, to be fair, and Diablo actually kind of hit this in sort of the reverse context. As I see it, there is an argument to be made for the classic, like, all-in-one printer scanner, blah, blah, blah sort of thing, where if one thing breaks, you're suddenly replacing everything. And that's kind of a bad thing. The counterpoint, obviously, solid-state items like a light and a camera probably aren't super prone to breaking, so it makes a little more sense for those to be all integrated. But yeah, I could see why you would also just want to have one device, because one cable. Having two cables running up to the top of your monitor does suck.
Yeah, like I'm officially out of USB ports on my monitor, so yeah, so that's really fun.
But hey, yes, you do look phenomenally better.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is much less blurry. There's no like focus wonkiness, which is awesome.
Yep.
Welcome to looking like kind of a pro-ish setup. Though to be fair, you still have the really, really janky outline of blur around you.
Oh yeah, that's Jutsu's fault.
Yeah.
So,
well,
fine.
Next what we'll do is we'll talk into getting a green screen.
Yeah, no. No, I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, so okay, well, I'm glad I diverted us. I feel like I was about to divert on something else, but I already forgot. So
okay, well, so I'll give you a choice then. You can either talk more about yourself, or actually your app that you're developing, or we could do the Google Reader mode thing.
Oh, I remembered, because it was from the chat, the IE thing. So
yes.
So yes, yes, it's done. I checked. 8 months. In 8 months since the first episode of the Tech Tales Internet Explorer story, the final episode came out. This, I think, Sunday or Saturday. I don't know. Whenever the 30th. No, that was yesterday. Wow. I'm really broken this week. But yeah. So I'll need to find the.
So either the 27th or 28th.
I'll grab the playlist link. But yeah. So we covered, I think, really everything important in Internet Explorer, and also a lot of things that are not important, but I still wanted to talk about. And I will put that in the chat so you can officially binge this. If you've got a road trip that's over 6 hours long, you can listen to this. Which, I mean, like, I laugh, but I did totally do that the last time I went on a car trip. I downloaded like a 5-part podcast series that I really like. I've listened to like 2 times already. I'm just like, this is the best thing I've heard. I'm gonna listen to it again. Yeah, if I go to the YouTube, unfortunately does not give me a combined playtime, but if I go to the SoundCloud playlist, it does tell me that across 10 tracks, this is 6 hours, 27 minutes, and 18 seconds long. And because this is so many episodes, and some of it actually took a fair amount of like digging, I'm pretty proud of this. I think this turned out pretty good. It was a lot of research. I think if I'm just gonna completely toot my horn and to an extent toot Cody's horn, the fact that I've done a lot of web development and Cody has done a lot of web development uh, made this a much better perspective than you get from a lot of other historical contexts like this. Especially like, I was going into it with, because obviously I don't do like all of the research for all the episodes before I publish the first one. That'd be insane.
Yeah.
So like I even went into this kind of like, well, I know like briefly what happened here, but to actually like go through it and read about some of the finer details about like what Microsoft was trying to do to the web was really interesting and horrifying. I will
Yeah.
I will the fact the ActiveX was especially horrifying. I didn't know how bad that was. Wow.
Yeah,
Microsoft really just
watching
let unsigned computer code run in a web browser. That was what a what a time that was.
watching you discussing that like separately or kind of in private, just watching you have those moments of just complete lack of words to express how you were feeling, or maybe even not even being able to form coherent thoughts for moments at a time, just because of how incredibly stupid that whole thing is.
Because it's so different now. Like, now we have Google running the web, and to a certain extent they do what they want in the same way that Microsoft did. But when there's new browser APIs and stuff now, like there's all like I'll look at this stuff when I see a new feature being added to Chrome, and I'm like, do I need to write about this? And eventually I'll get to like whatever proposal document was made for this thing, and it'll be like really long, and there'll always be like a giant section of like what security or privacy implications could implementing this have. Like, this is something we need to think about, and this is something that all the other browsers think about when they want to add this. And then here was just this completely batshit thing that existed for a while,
For a long time.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. I learned a lot. I hope other people learned a lot or were just entertained at my speechless response to ActiveX. But yeah, pretty happy with how that turned out, and definitely not another big series from Tagtales for a while. I need a break.
So does this mean I get a raise?
That was
no. Can I get 5%?
Well, okay, Cody, you can get a 50% increase, 50% increase from your current salary. So plus 50% from zero.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Now I can buy that imaginary sandwich.
Yeah, and it's looking great because I switched out the TechTales profile pic for the Pride pic, because Pride Month starts next month. So for the next month or so, TechTales is more gay than usual.
Oh, watch out! You're gonna get canceled by people. Says, you're gonna get canceled by people who don't listen to Tech Tales anyway.
It's true. Yeah, I'm just like all the brands changing out for the pride flag while they're like incredibly racist and homophobic and stuff in their actual business. Yeah, David said 50% off Tech Tales merch for Cody. Yeah. I will, I'll eventually get at least stickers going. I want stickers for myself. So something like that will happen eventually.
You should do pins. That seems to be popularizing more.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I'd like stickers for me. I know a couple people have said they would also like a sticker. So something like that. Yeah, so that's a fun thing that I'm proud of, and I'm very happy is done. because that was that was especially long, and I'm sure many people will go look. Hey, look at this podcast. Sounds cool. Oh my god, 10 episodes of this. Because like I get that feeling if I'm like checking out a YouTube channel or something, and I see, oh dear God, they split this into like many hour long or multi-hour long episodes. This is an investment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's no denying it is a commitment. But
but like
hey,
again, like that was me drawing the line at a certain extent too, because like you get to a certain point. This was over 20 years, and a lot in that. So
well, and I'll go so far as to even add the amount that I'm sure you probably cut out of me talking about various things.
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you, Cody. That last episode, I cut out like the last 15 minutes or so because we just said the same thing again.
I think I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, basically just restated what I said from. I don't want to edit this anymore. Just like in Audacity, just delete that whole chunk.
Not gonna lie, I literally went through that last night. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I did something just like that last night.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, sometimes
I
you hit that point and you know it's not really important, so
I know.
okay.
Yeah, I've already got the point across pretty well. I don't need all this. But yeah, no, I am also overdue for an outtakes episode. I have a beefy outtakes folder with a lot of WAVs in it, so there will be. Honestly, probably there'll be an outtakes episode, and then I'm gonna save a few for the next time. There's a bunch and dump them in, but yeah.
Well, hey, you were saying you didn't think you had enough time to get another episode out before the 2-year anniversary. Well, maybe. You could do an outtakes.
Yeah, that's true. I could. That would be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and outtakes are always a good way to cap an anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Nothing like lowest possible effort on my part to really put a bow on it. So
let's see. Do we
Reddit?
Do we want to keep you talking about yourself a little bit longer and just do the?
I can take a break from embellishing myself. We can talk about Reddit.
Oh, are we skipping Chrome Reader?
Oh, I forgot about Chrome Reader. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so this was kind of interesting. If you've ever read one of those like hidden Chrome tips and tricks articles at any point over the past couple years, you've probably seen that Chrome had a experimental feature flag for something called reader mode, which is where if you went to certain pages, usually just articles, you would see a button in the corner of like the address bar, and when you click that, it would convert the page into a much more readable format, like pretty similar, like basically just text and images and like some formatting for the text. Like it strips out all the sidebars, all the ads. Yeah, all the ads. Most videos. So it was just, a nice way to like, if a page is like way too complicated, like you can just turn all that stuff off. And what was kind of weird about it is they implemented it. I tried to do some digging, but honestly, this has been around for so long that like its origins are a little bit blurry, at least in the time I could spend writing this article. Like I saw they were experimenting with a version of this in Chrome for Android as far back as 2014. I think the current desktop version of this goes back to at least 2019. But usually when Google does a feature flag, it's there for like a couple months and then it's shipped or it's killed off. But this was unique because it remained a feature flag for years. Like this was just a thing that was like in the background, and like they didn't abandon it. It was every once in a while there'd be like a tweak to it, or they'd fix something. But it's just this hidden thing in the web browser for years. And the hypothesis for this is that Google is an ad company, and adding a feature that turns off the ads in pages would not be good for that business. But in that case, like I don't really know why it was implemented in the first place and then kept alive for so long. I know a lot of Chrome flags start off as just like Google engineers like wanting to see if something works or can be turned into something else later. So maybe this was that, but like I get it was just kind of weird to have this as a flag for so long. Um, Really, the only similar thing like this I can think of is back when Chrome was testing a bottom navigation bar on Chrome for Android. Like one of the first articles I wrote at Android Police was about that flag in 2016, and then like uh, I, pretty close to when I left AP was when that flag was finally removed. Like that was a thing that Google was testing for years. Now, granted, that's actually something they rolled out to a certain percentage of people and then rolled back. So that got farther than reader mode did. But like that stands out as unique in this for kind of the same reason where like that doesn't really happen with Chrome, where there's just like a thing, hidden away for years that is not, you know, apparently isn't rolling out. It was just kind of weird. Um, but the main news is that this was actually removed in Chrome 112. I didn't notice. It doesn't seem like anyone else did. Like I was trying to write about this because the latest version of Chrome has a thing like reader mode, and I went to go like enable the flag so I get a screenshot. I'm like, wait, where'd it go?
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I go to the Chrome Git repository, and the flag was just set to like when Google makes flags, they set an expiry date for when it will just be hidden from the web browser, like kind of deprecated. And then the goal is like if they're still working on it, they'll keep extending that expiry until it's like, then when it's like fully rolled out, they'll just take out that flag. But they extended it a long time ago to Chrome 112, and Chrome 112 arrived in when was it? 2 months ago. And it just had the flag. It wasn't there, and you can still. They do have another flag to temporarily unexpire Chrome 112 flags, which is the thing they have because occasionally they do like forget to extend things that they need to keep testing. So that's in there as like a backup, but like it's like all deprecated now. Like they're gonna remove it eventually. So that reader mode is dead in Chrome. Where did I write about it? Chrome 114, I think, is the one that just came out. Yes, I think I forgot to give you this link, so I will put it in the YouTube.
Sure.
But Chrome 114 has a new reader mode, which is like it's like a side grade. So this is called reading mode, and what it does is it puts basically the reader mode in a sidebar, and you can make it bigger or smaller. So you still see the original page and all the ads. So there we go, problem solved. But it does actually have controls, which the old one did not. So you can like make the text bigger and smaller and change the font size. And they were kind of billing this as like something helpful for like education and like people with like sensory issues, because it's like I literally can't read this web page. I need a simplified version.
Yeah, and those people absolutely need more ads.
Yeah, we gotta keep showing them ads. That's important. But so Yeah, so now there's a reading mode, which is supposed to be rolling out. If you don't have it already, there's a flag to like force it on, um, which is nice, but it doesn't replace the full page. So you still have to go to Firefox or Edge if you want that.
If you want the good experience.
If you want, yeah, what it's supposed to be.
That, or I could be wrong, but I think there are some Chrome extensions that'll just replicate this pretty clearly.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah, I don't really have anything to say or add myself, but
Yeah, there's not like a big discussion here. It's just kind of interesting that this thing was in Chrome for years, just hidden away, and now it's gone.
yeah, the only really weird thing is why it didn't like actually get used.
Yeah, I mean, let me just drop my water cap. Yeah, no, I don't really know. It was kind of weird. Um, it's like if it conflict. I know there are some flags that like Google would like to remove, but there's a lot of people using them, and I guess they value that more than ripping something away necessarily, but only for some stuff. Like I know when that bottom nav bar thing in Chrome for Android got ripped out, um, a lot of people were like, "I want this back, Google. What did you do? You ruined Chrome." Um, but then there's another it was there's a flag in Chrome to like force dark mode on sites that don't support it, like Samsung Internet does. And I just saw a while ago. I didn't write an article about it because it's not like nothing's like changed yet, but I did see in the Chrome source code they extended that flag, and like in the comment for the commit was like, we still have a lot of people using this, so we're not going to
Yeah.
remove it right now. Again, like another thing that like hasn't shipped in any capacity, but a lot of people are using because it's nice and improves the web browser.
It's funny because we see some things pop up in Android that are like that if you know where to look. A lot of APIs and a lot of various sort of internal tools that existed or were added for whatever purpose, and a lot of times kind of internal stuff, or maybe it was added for OEMs and kind of intended to be thrown out, and then as it turns out the OEMs really either liked it or depended on it, or when Google finally does introduce the thing that's supposed to replace the old thing, nobody ever moves on from the old thing. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that has a tendency of kind of cropping up, and all of a sudden they're stuck like, all right, I guess we just have to keep supporting whatever it was. Yeah, here's the commit. Extend enable force dark until M123. This flag is one of the more popular flags and will be difficult to remove. Usage is slowly falling, so let's reevaluate it in a year.
So translation, like, we want to get rid of this. Maybe in a year, it'll get to the point where only a few people will complain at us if it gets removed. So
that's actually
of
not
course,
bad. At least a year is their timeline.
I mean, again, like, that should just tell you maybe improve this and make it a permanent feature, but guess not. I don't know. Like, I know the sort of main complaint with this is like Chrome does a very specific thing where it will not, like, this goes back to the reader mode too. Like, Google will not implement features that changes the appearance of web pages. Like, they're very determined to make like the web like a platform that is not like modifiable except through like Chrome extensions or whatever.
Right.
So, that goes back to like one thing I was researching for another article was how picture-in-picture mode works. So like Google Chrome and Chromium browsers let websites disable picture-in-picture mode for certain video elements. So if you have a web page that's just going to completely break, if like you can like sort of like pop out the video, or what happens more of the time is if you have a lot of ads in your thing and you don't want to also go through all the work of like making sure those ads pop out with the container, or you have some other thing, it will, it lets us disable that. Firefox purposefully ignores that flag. They will not implement it. And I was trying to the last Firefox update just like improved the picture-in-picture stuff. So I was trying to figure out the reason for that, and I stumbled on a Firefox issue tracker where devs were like, "Hey, this flag that Chrome has isn't in Firefox. Can we get this?" And there's this like a chain of like devs being like, "Please, Mozilla, enable this. I have websites that will not work and like need to show these ads on the video, and they can't pop it out because then they won't see the other stuff." And the Firefox developers was like, "No." Like literally he's like, no, we consider this like a browser feature, not like a web feature. We're gonna let the user control this entirely. And all the web devs are just like, "No, Mozilla, no."
Yay.
It's the unfortunately increasingly rare Mozilla W on that issue tracker. That's a joy to read. Actually, I think I can find that too. Hold on, because I sent that to somebody. I'll dig that up while you switch to something else.
That may be, well, that's awkward timing, because the last three remaining things we have, one is talking about Snappy. Then we can go into Reddit, which I think is probably going to be a longer conversation. Then it's all Apple. So, there you go.
There's the thread. There's not like any like.
There's no one single comment that's just like the big,
right,
awesome win.
Yeah, it's just when you read all of them, they're all like, "Hey, this interferes with my thing. Please implement this," and the devs is like, "No."
This is a sizable page.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of web devs who would like Firefox to implement that.
Yeah, so that's fun. That comment near the bottom. Why is this won't fix? Shouldn't this be a duplicate? Can anyone explain?
Please, yeah.
Oh boy. Actually, kind of funny, because the most recent of these is what, 2 years? Is that it? Or yeah, the most recent comment is 2 years ago. That's a win.
Maybe they gave up, or there's another thread somewhere else I didn't find. But
sorry, I take that back. I guess hidden. There is a comment from 9 months ago. So 11 months and 11 months. So yeah, okay. It seems like they've pretty much lost the ambition to keep fighting this fight. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, people have the advertising people have lost the ambition.
Yeah. So yeah, Snappy. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I talked about I talked about this for like 2 minutes, I think, when Cody had to leave on another RambleCast for a minute. But I'll put this in the chat. This is a web app I'm working on that is like 90% done. And usually I just like, if I'm making anything, I'll just, release what I have and keep updating it. But I am trying to like get this to what I would consider to be done, because it's actually not like that complicated of a thing. And then I want to try to do like a full like push and like email a bunch of other tech sites about it, especially the Chromebook ones, because this potentially fills a gap that I think, like, I don't know if there's anything like this for Chromebook specifically, but basically what this is a web app I made for capturing screenshots automatically. So you pick a screen or a window, or if you have a Chromium browser, a specific tab, and like just the tab content, not all the browser stuff with it. It can even be a background tab, which is really cool. Normal screenshots can't take images of a tab you don't have open, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, you click a window or a tab or a screen, and then you select the folder you want the screenshots to go in, and then you click start, and it will take a screenshot at the interval of your choosing. So you can do like once every 5 seconds, or 5,000 seconds, or 1 second. Um, and it will save the screenshots to a folder, and that's it. And you can change the file format. There is optional Discord integration, which is like kind of the only advanced thing right now, where if you make a webhook in Discord and put it there, it will send a confirmation message for each screenshot it takes, and it will try to send warnings through that as well. So I kind of made that with the idea of like, this might be cool if you're like setting this up as a like something you want to, because like the ideal purpose for this is like you turn it on and you don't pay attention to it, like that's the point. So I'm thinking like, if I set this up on a computer and I go walk away for a while, I can like see what it's doing from my phone, from Discord, like that kind of thing. Like I don't know, maybe you could use this, yeah, so something like that might be cool. But yeah, like I was making this because I needed a automatic screenshot thing, and I've been using a Windows app for this, but I'm down to one Windows computer now, unless I reboot my desktop, or unless I use my desktop, but I'm usually using my desktop for my Mac Mini, so that's not ideal. And it's something that you can technically do with like a bash script and stuff, but I kind of wanted something that was graphical, because you can like pick the window and stuff more easily. And I was looking at like, yeah, something in like Python or Dart and Flutter or whatever. And it turned out that honestly, like a web app was the best option, because web browsers have a pretty good screen window tab capturing stuff now. I guess incentivized from the year of Zoom and these other worldly events where like especially like in Chromium browsers, where like it has, so really not, like I even have a screenshot of it on that GitHub page, but like where it'll show like all your windows like with little previews, and you just click the one you want. And I get all of that for free, so to speak. Like the code to open that panel is like a couple lines.
Yeah.
And so it's using that screen capture API that's in like all the web browsers now, to varying extents. Like Safari doesn't support. I'll talk about Safari in 1 second, but so like browsers have that screen sharing stuff, and then I'm also using the still somewhat new file system API, where you can just pick a folder on your computer and it will dump the screenshots in that folder.
I like that you say somewhat new. Isn't that like 4 years old now, or 5?
I don't think so. So what's weird about this is this API is for both local file system access, like your main file system, and the ability to set up like little sandboxed file systems that only the site touches. And so those are like two very different functionalities, but they're in the exact same API. Yeah, so and because of that, like that only works in desktop Chromium. Nothing else has implemented that. So just the other day, I went through like a little bit of extra work to use downloads as a fallback. So like when you fire this up in Safari or something else that does not support the ability to pick a folder, it'll just download the screenshots as it goes. So you don't get to pick where they go, but it's still better than nothing. But yeah, right now I'm just there's a couple little like UX and bugs left. Like I, because I just added that fallback for the files, it now works in Safari and Firefox for the first time. So I need to go through those browsers and like double check that everything works. I did notice that Safari's doing something really fucky where uh, every screenshot is saved in 16 by 9. So the screenshots of my ultra wide desktop have like movie letterboxing on them, and when I take a screenshot of like my like the settings app in macOS, which is like a small but like tall window, it just like puts it in the left corner. I don't know why. So I was trying to figure that out, but like the weird thing about that API is even though it's been around for a while and most desktop browsers support it, it's not well documented whatsoever. Like a lot of these options are kind of complicated, and there's a lot of like options that Chrome has that the other web browsers don't. So I've been trying to go through those and see what the issue is there, but I haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, so I'm gonna use this next week for WWDC, and that was my goal. So it does work, and you know there's tools like this for Windows and I think Mac too, but because it's a web app, it just works on everything. And I think actually this might be the first tool like this for Chromebooks, because I don't know if something else like this exists for those. I know there's like, I'm sure there's probably an Android app maybe that does this, and I know there's like Linux apps for this, but I don't think software running in those environments can like see the entire Chrome OS desktop because they don't need to. So
You say Android. Honestly, I don't think there would be something for Android because they've been pretty diligent about locking down a lot of stuff. Even like the screen recording API has been sort of hobbled to the point of almost uselessness. And screenshots, like automated screenshots, seem to be possibly worse.
Yeah.
So
like I did notice that the APIs for screen capture like are on no mobile browsers at all. So this only works on desktop stuff. I did find an issue tracker for the screen capture API in Chrome for Android, which was open like 10 years ago, and there's no progress on that. So I don't know if that's ever happening.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's a cool thing that's almost done, and I'll make like a blog post and like super official announcement for it whenever that's done. I'm going to use it for myself. That's what I made it for.
And if anyone else gets use out of it, good for you.
Yes. Yeah, give me Patreon money.
But yeah, obviously a lot of people don't really know or think about this, but it is a very common thing to use stuff like this within like the tech blogging industry because, man, the events come, and while I personally was always a big fan of just taking screenshots manually of the exact stuff I wanted, I always, like, a lot of the people that I've worked with have always really preferred to have screenshots being taken automatically at an interval and just like showing up in a folder or something like that, and then they can pick from them.
Yep.
Again, I don't really quite understand that myself. I want to take precise screenshots, but yeah.
Well, my thing is like the past couple times I've covered events at How To Geek, I'll have the screenshot tool going and just taking a screenshot every 2 seconds, because like I'm writing for this entire thing, so I just need it to go along, and like while I'm like half paying attention and writing, like I will grab the image that makes the most sense for whatever I'm writing and put it in there. And sometimes it will take a screenshot of something that was on screen that I missed, and I can quickly, see what that was. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's mostly what I use it for. Like, if all I had to do during those was like take screenshots, yes, I would be more precise, but I don't. So
Yeah, that's fair.
you know, and also for Snappy, one thing is not a priority at all. So I don't know when this is going to happen, but the APIs for screen capture are very similar to the APIs for camera capture. So maybe I could add a thing also where you can just take images from a video source,
That makes
if you
sense.
want. Yeah, like I mean, honestly, probably more people would find that useful um, than the than the screenshots. Just because if I think of like all the things people have set up for like not something you would run Snappy on maybe, but or a web app, but like like people running nature cams off their like Raspberry Pis and that kind of stuff. Like that's really helpful.
That's a good one. The one I immediately think of, and you will, I'm sure, immediately agree with this. Taking screenshots of something that you're like passing through a capture card. Um,
Yeah,
because I know that was something that was driving you crazy at one time. Um, but yeah, I've known a lot of people who are like
yeah,
either doing reviews of games or they're trying to like capture maybe like their setup experience with a device or like a just for example, the first thing that comes to my mind, setting up an Android TV or something like that. You might capture a whole bunch of stuff there. So I could see there being a pretty good use case for just setting up something to capture that. Obviously, recording video is technically better, but you won't necessarily get as clear an image depending on your compression. And you're also talking about a big, huge video file, whereas just taking stills is much more efficient and a lot of times just as good. So yeah, I could see a lot of arguments for being able to capture those things.
yeah. So yeah, that would be nice to add at some point. Really, the hard work there is just like splitting up the UI for that as needed and bringing up the like permission prompts. Which this already needs like this already has a lot of like permission pop-ups because there's a pop-up when you like give it a folder, and there's a pop-up when you're screen capturing, like Chrome will do the like recording thing. And I did play with the thing web apps can do now where they can like customize the title bar, but when you do that, all the like icons and stuff Chrome adds to the title bar are off limits. So what's happening is that Chrome is adding like 5 fucking icons to this web app. So my capture button, which was like supposed to be aligned on the right side of the window, was like centered in the window. I was like, no, this looks terrible. I'm not gonna worry about that.
That's fun.
So yeah, you can play with that. Let me know if there's a bug.
So, speaking of things that are buggy, and oh wait, I wanna, screw it. Maybe I won't talk about that. All right. Speaking of things that are buggy, Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
For those who haven't heard, Reddit is adopting a pay per use policy on its API. And it's not, this is something Twitter has now done, and people generally hated Twitter for it because it effectively kills third-party apps. It costs a fortune to get a decent number of API requests, and frankly, Twitter's still broken and busted, so I wouldn't even have a lot of faith that their API requests are returning proper data all the time. That said, Reddit had promised to make a reasonable pricing for their API requests, and it turns out they lied. So the developer of Apollo, one of the classic Reddit reader apps, He apparently got onto a call with Reddit and discussed what it was going to cost for his app to continue operating. And the summary is it's going to cost about 20 million a year because of how many API requests Apollo makes. Seeing as I've got a reasonable suspicion that the developer has not made $20 million from the app in total, yeah, that's probably not going to be happening. So, from the look of it, most Reddit apps probably about to die.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how these would work unless I don't know what the situation will be like with Reddit letting you make your own API keys, because like you can do that very easily. I don't know if would they let you plug in. I don't see that sticking around, because theoretically if they let you do that, then like that's what OpenAI could use to get that same data. So I don't know if they would necessarily do that. But yeah, it's not great. And yeah, I don't really know where to go with this. It's annoying to see in such a short time span the only major social platforms that allow third-party apps to suddenly cut that off. So like Facebook has not let anyone make a custom app for I don't know how long. Instagram basically never let them do that. Yeah. I know there was a time, like I know people made like unofficial apps for like Windows Phone and stuff. I don't think those were ever using official APIs.
No, they were page scraping.
Yeah,
100%.
So, you know, and all the other ones never did that. But Reddit and Twitter both created this ecosystem where third-party apps could exist under the impression that like in the end, like they still get engagement from it. Like it's still people using this app and leaving comments and interacting with other people and making the site feel more alive. Then, you know, that outweighed ad revenue. But, you know, at Twitter, Elon Musk quickly cut on that because he's a dumb man-child who only saw that there were dollar signs that these people aren't spending because they aren't looking at ads, and cut that off.
I think you're being overly generous, but okay.
Yeah, and Reddit is using maybe one more brain cell, and they're at least their public excuse for this is like, we're trying to clamp down on like AI models being trained on our data. But again, that kind of goes back to the thing where it's like, oh, you know, if I, you know, as an individual, I can commit copyright infringement using other people's content and content from other sites to an extent. But when OpenAI does it on a massive scale, it's fine. But that's Reddit's excuse. And they still kind of come to the same result where the cost of the API is prohibitive for normal apps. That's also what Twitter did. Like Twitter does still have an API. It just costs an obscene amount of money that no one's going to pay, unless you're like, you know, a conservative think tank with a lot of money to blow.
I'm convinced that Twitter's API now exists for one, yes, the overly funded groups that are doing like weird, creepy, creepy stuff with the API, and I think it also exists for celebrities. You know, the idea that a celebrity still wants to have their app. Or that they have publicists who are going to manage social media accounts. I think it exists for them.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's annoying because honestly, Reddit was the best, you know, is right now. I don't know, again, like this doesn't answer a lot of questions. We've had basically no communication from Reddit itself. So that's the other thing to keep in mind is like all of the news around this is coming from this uh, info dump of a phone call with one developer from Reddit. So this is like secondary source. And also that was the other thing. The other time this went viral was also when the Apollo dev talked about this previously. So like Reddit, and I'm not saying that like, oh, don't trust the dev. I'm saying like Reddit has not fully communicated what is happening here, because there's a lot of other things that I feel like are probably going to go away that have not been explicitly confirmed. Like again, I don't know if the ability to make your own API key will stick around. Like that was always nice. Like I made Twitter bots a long time ago that could use Reddit data in that manner. I'm guessing old Reddit will finally die because when devs don't have an API, web scrapers still work, and old Reddit is perfect for web scrapers because it's static. So I'm guessing that's gonna go away, or they'll just like make you do a CAPTCHA every single time you load a web page. That's one of those two things is gonna happen. And also one thing for me personally is like going back to the thing I've complained a lot, where a lot of projects and companies do not have good communication channels that they fully operate themselves. Like all the companies that just don't use RSS on like all of their blogs and stuff. A lot of them post to Reddit, and Reddit has a fantastic RSS integration because you can take any Reddit profile, I think any Reddit thread, and any Reddit search and turn it into an RSS feed. And I've used that a lot over the years because there's a lot of like I know like for a while the main way I think back at Android Police, I know I was doing this for a while at How to Geek, and then I know XJ was doing it, was like one of the ways to monitor announcements for Google Fi was the guy from Google Fi posted to Reddit when something happened.
The same is kind of true
like,
Stadia.
Yeah, like there's cases like this where they're so bad at communicating that like they go directly to where the people are, which in theory is a good idea, but also makes my job harder if I can't because I can't watch 20 different apps. I can't watch 20 different communication channels. So that RSS feature was helpful for me. And also just personally, like there's a couple, places where like I necessarily don't want to be subscribed. I want to just dump them in my Feedly, whatever. So that was all nice. Austin said apparently they're also banning all NSFW content on third-party apps. I think so. I think that was something that came from what the Apollo dev said. I don't know if because Reddit's done like that one post about this initially, where they were like, "Yeah, we're planning some API changes," and then like a little while later was when that first thing from Apollo dev happened, and now we have this.
Well, we talked about this I'm sure we talked about this a few weeks ago, where Reddit had at least confirmed that they were going to move to charging for the API.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was the initial announcement, I think.
Yeah, it was, but it was more than just we're making changes. It was a pretty clear like we're closing this down. We're charging for stuff, and the moment I heard that, I remember making a pretty impassioned speech, basically saying, "Yeah, this is the thing." The moment Elon crossed that line and said, "Hey, we're going to start charging for access," we're shutting down the public side of this. Reddit is now in a position to say, "Oh, good, we're the last one that was remaining. Now we can do the same. We can still pretend to be the open company, while actually being just as closed off as everybody else because there's no one left to compare to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's frustrating, and it's especially frustrating because I don't have like a huge problem with the current Reddit website. I will say when I was running PCs, it was the laggiest piece of shit website I'd ever been to. But my current Macs just kind of power through it, so that's fine. I know literally everyone else complains though, so I'm not going to pretend like those issues don't exist. Um, the Reddit mobile app is very poorly designed. It's really bad. I've gotten used to it personally. Like I've never really like invested in the Reddit apps on iPhone because I know that it was clear like a couple months ago that ship was going to sail. So I'm not really. I didn't really explore the other apps there, but um, what I especially love is the Reddit app keeps experimenting with ways to make sharing worse. So if you try, so like if there's an image, like a Reddit post with an image, I should just be able to save the image, like in its original form, just like on Reddit Sync when I had Android phones, just click a button, it's there, or it's copied to my clipboard, whatever. But uh, first Reddit was adding like a bottom bar to any image you shared with that, with like from Reddit, and then it lists like who the user was or some shit. And then now they've evolved from that where they add that I think to the top now, and then they add a Reddit watermark to the corner of the image. So now I just do the boomer thing where I just take a screenshot of my phone to share the image. And which is really funny because I noticed I think a couple weeks ago initially, when you do that, it like shows a pop-up like, hey, do you want to share the post, like instead of screenshot? Like, no, you fucking app, I don't. They're like, please share the link where we get referral traffic.
I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, but it reminds me so much of when I think it was Reddit's CEO and certainly some of the particular subs started basically talking about Reddit as if it was the one source of everything on the internet, and basically was accusing everyone of stealing from Reddit, even when, like, while Reddit was very actively stealing from everywhere else. So yeah, it's kind of the thing where they want to take credit for stuff that a lot of times doesn't originate there.
Yeah. And you know, if I was in charge of Reddit and gunning for an IPO, like they were, I don't know if they still are. That's what I would do. Yeah, there's a lot of people who use my service just to share memes they found on it. I'm gonna, and honestly, that's like I think the biggest impact of TikTok is watermarking media from apps, because everyone else has copied that. YouTube copied it. Reddit has. I'm shocked Twitter hasn't done that yet, honestly. I think it's just because they have like 4 people there now.
I was gonna say, I think they don't have any developers that know how to do image stuff right now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not fun times. I'm gonna be really pissed if that RSS goes away. I'm hoping they just forget that's there. But yeah.
But you see, they still actually have developers working there, so
it's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Oh my god. I want to bust on Twitter because it would just be so much fun. But technically, I think we did that did DeSantis announce, was that last week?
Fuck, I don't know.
I think it was. Whenever it was, I think it was like a good hour of just busting on Twitter for being awful, and we had fun.
Man, I'm just my email app is really activating my flight response this week.
Flight response. I like that.
It's just only flight. I just want to run away.
I think that actually should. There's got to be a good meme there. That's some landfill territory if I've ever
Well, I
heard
was, yeah, well, I was just, I've had Google alerts on for everything else going on, and then I got an email from SoFi where the title was just "Your credit score has changed." I'm like, what the fuck? And then I opened the email. It says your credit score has increased by 5 or more points. I'm like, why didn't you put that in the title?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Thanks, SoFi. I'll talk about SoFi one of these rambles when we run out of other stuff because it's kind of interesting, but not today. I'm tired. I'm talking about Apple, and then I'm gonna leave.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'd say we're pretty much done with the Reddit thing. Okay, so in case anyone somehow missed this, I don't think that's possible, but in case anybody missed it, WWDC is coming up next week. Can't wait. Seriously excited. Corbin is too. You can see it on his face. Super.
Shut up.
Anyway, so
this is the face of someone who has to write about what happened.
Hey, I might have to write about something.
Okay.
Maybe. They probably won't let me, so who cares? Anyway, so the thing
I was just looking at my credit score screen trying to figure out why it went up. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I haven't done anything.
Oh, you'll never really know. Though 9 times out of 10, in all seriousness, when it goes up a few points, it's usually because it checked in that right phase where you just made bill payments. Those hit the account and it's like, oh, you did good. You paid a bill. Mm-hmm. Mine, like if you track my credit day to day, yeah, it does the same thing. It's always up and down about 4 to 5 points every few days. Or I guess every week or so.
Yeah, and SoFi gives me the full like TransUnion report that like tries to explain in detail what this score is, and like honestly, every fucking loser who wants to make the like China has a like social score thing, like please look at this. Like we already have this here.
Yeah.
Like what? It's the same thing. It's like, oh, I missed one payment. Oh, my life is ruined now. That's literally what happens.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I can't buy a house unless this number is really high, or buy a car, which is needed to live here. In case you haven't noticed, that's a requirement in like 95% of here.
Yeah.
Ugh, I hate those people.
Yeah. Well, and I think about the poor people I've known who don't have cars or have to constantly ask people for rides. Yeah, that is not a usually good life. Which anyway. Yeah, so anyway, getting back onto Apple. So
other things that will impact your credit score, these Apple products.
Yes. Negatively. Anyway, so I think everybody knows there's going to be a headset. We know this. We know what it's, well, we've got a decent sense of what it's called. We know what it's going to look like-ish. So that's going to be one of the big things. Mark Gurman is, now I'm quickly starting here because I sort of want to dunk on this just being Apple fanboyish. But Mark Gurman posted that he's expecting 3 things. Now, this part I agree with. I think this is all accurate. He says several new Macs. I think it's actually only going to be between 1 and 3. And Mac Rumors has a pretty good roundup on this subject, basically listing what they expect it to be. And they're pretty clear. It's very likely going to be a brand new 15-inch MacBook Air, a updated 13-inch MacBook Air, and when they say updated, it's literally going to be the 15-inch but smaller size. Or you could look at it the other way around. They're going to update the 13 and make a 15 that looks exactly the same but with bigger screen. And they're going to do a 13-inch MacBook Pro. The 13-inch MacBook Pro is basically going to be an Air, but with fans. So, yeah. Just saying, these are not exciting announcements.
Can you paste the link for this somewhere so I can look at it?
Okay, so Gurman's tweet
Oh
posted
yeah,
that
I've got that. Didn't know where to go on Mac Rumors for this nice hub.
Okay, and there's a link in YouTube chat for Mac Rumors.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah. Anyway, Gurman also expects the new operating systems, which is to say new operating systems is kind of an Appleism for really the latest versions of iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS.
And that's like the most safe bet for WWDC. So,
exactly.
yeah.
DubDub always has at least a couple of these.
That was the purpose, right? To announce new things for developers to use, which comes with new OSs.
Yeah. And over the years they've kind of had the same problem Google has had, where sometimes they want to announce really more user-focused stuff. Sometimes they're like, okay, well, we don't have a lot of user-focused stuff, or we want to save the user-focused stuff for the iPhone announcements. So we're actually just going to focus on the developer-y things. They've kind of bounced back and forth in a lot of ways. Anyway, it's safe to assume there will be announcements on at least iOS and macOS. Rumor has it also watchOS is going to get a lot of attention, but that's a little bit more uncertain. But they pretty much all they're basically guaranteed to talk about iOS. macOS is hit and miss for DubDub. A lot of times they talk about it. It is the right forum to talk about it, but a lot of times they will save macOS talk until a major macOS like version release or hardware release. But since they moved to the 1-year cycle for macOS releases, they do tend to talk about it. But I wouldn't necessarily expect a lot. And then, of course, the other big topic, again, the headset. Now, the one part I want to dunk on Gurman for is his second sentence here that says, with all the new hardware and software, I expect the keynote to be one of Apple's longest ever and easily exceed 2 hours. I know I'm being a pedantic prick as I say this, and I'm okay with that. But, dude, shut up. It's not... No. I mean, is it going to be 2 hours? Probably yes. Is it going to be easily over 2 hours? It's Apple. It probably isn't going to be. They have done over 2 hours before. 3 times. 3 times in history, they've done keynotes that went over 2 hours. By more than a couple minutes. Like, if it's 2 hours and 3 minutes, I'm not counting that. They've only ever hit 2 hours and 20 minutes 3 times in history. I'm not too worried about them doing this. I think they're going to hit 2 hours. It's going to be a tight 2 hours. And it's going to be over an hour dedicated to that headset. Because I think they're not going to spend a lot of time talking about those new Macs. They're boring. Honestly, like, no offense, they're great. They're going to be really great computers. They're going to be the computers I would recommend to a lot of people. But they're not going to spend that long on them.
Because
they're trivial.
They're not supposed to have M3 chips in them, right?
Nope.
That was So
M3 is definitely not happening at DubDub.
Yeah.
If they announce M3 at all, it's going to be at a fall event. And by fall, we're actually probably talking November, not September. Maybe not even October. And even then, there's a lot of expectation that M3 just won't happen till next year. But it is unknown. That's still up in the air. But it is definitely not happening at DubDub. So, yeah. And the MacBook Airs are not going to be getting a massive overhaul change. They're going to look exactly like the current MacBook Pros, but skinnier and without fans. So, who cares? Like, you know, I'm not hating on them. I think they're going to, like I said, I would recommend these to a lot of people, but they're not going to be special. They're not going to get like 20-minute segments to cover the new laptops. I think they're gonna get like 5 to 10 tops. Anyway, so and then like I said, I think the new OSs, watch OS, sure, they'll probably talk a lot about it, but I don't think it's going to get a lot of time. How much they talk about iOS, I think is going to, I think that's a little up in the air. I kind of have this going theory right now that they don't have a lot planned for the iPhone this year, so they're going to spend more time talking about software at the iPhone announcement, which means that it's actually better for them to hold back announcements that would normally have come at Dub and just wait for that iPhone announcement, make it about the software, and yeah, it's all good. So I'm sure they'll talk about it. I think they'll talk about a few things, but I don't think it's going to get a lot of coverage. And then macOS, like I said, that's always hit and miss, and this year would be a good one to save that until the fall event. So I think they'll talk about all of these, but I don't think they're going to take a lot of time, which means that they're going to have anywhere from an hour to an hour 20 to talk about just the headset software, and I've got a hunch they're probably going to have a couple of demos from other developers.
Yeah, I do not care about the headset at all, because I know I will not be able to buy it. No chance. And you know, like in theory, maybe this is again, like I know I've said this before, but like my ideal version of this is either a VR headset that has like all the games, like if Apple made a like Oculus Quest with, you know, a M1 chip in there and got a lot of games, sure, for the right price, I might be interested in. Apple does not do games though, so that's not going to happen. Like the big rumor right now is like there's going to be a VR version of No Man's Sky on this, which is like, wow, Apple, great get. The game that came out, I think that was 2016, was the non-VR version, and it's had like I think 1 or 2 VR releases. Like it was on the PSVR, and I think on PC as well. But okay, so anyway, like great. Again, just like the I think it was Resident Evil, they kept showing off for the M1 or M2 Max. Like, great job, Apple, getting a game that is several years old on your platform. That's really going to show how much you care. So don't really care about that all that much. The 15-inch Air sounds good. Like if I was someone who was almost exclusively working from a laptop, that sounds like my ideal laptop. Because I probably don't like. I don't know if I would care about getting a Pro necessarily. But iOS, like there's a lot of like health app stuff here. I don't really use the health app all that much. There's some stuff about maybe the control center getting an update. I really just want Android notifications. That's like my main gripe. The iPhone notifications are so bad. I have a couple people who have like tried to the one thing that Apple does on iPhone that bewilders me the most is they treat the lock screen and the notification pane like the same exact thing. So yes. Like if I have my phone unlocked and I swipe down, I get my notifications. I mean my lock screen, like big, I don't want to show that part, but my big clock at the top. Like, why? I don't need that. I'm losing a third of my screen because the clock is there. I know it's because I have the small iPhone. That's part of the reason this is so unoptimized, because Apple doesn't really care about this form factor anymore. But still, this is a product they sell, and Android notifications are so much better here. And like I'm sure they did it for like simplicity purposes. Like it's a lot easier for inexperienced tech people to understand. Like your lock screen and the notification thing are the exact same thing, but I hate that because it means the notifications are worse and get pushed down. And There's again no like persistent notification thing like on the top of the screen. I can't do anything with. Um, like when I'm just looking at my phone, I have no clue if I have notifications unread. I just don't. I have to swipe down from the screen. That's crazy. Um, and like there's so many other things about iOS that I think are better than Android, but this is still like one thing that I really don't know what they're doing, especially when historically it is Apple's thing to wait for another software platform or company to develop something and iterate on it to the point where it's pretty good, and then Apple takes that idea and makes it better. And they just have not done that whatsoever here.
I was going to say that already was supposed to have happened because Android demonstrated exactly how it should be done. And
Oh yeah, no, like I would take, Android's been great with notifications for like uh, maybe a decade. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'd maybe even go back. Like I remember
actually, I think
my
they even used to be better, but
yeah, like they kept. Oh yeah, like definitely it's gotten worse. I think with, on Pixel,
but the funny
uh,
thing is, it has gotten appreciably worse on Android, and it is still miles
it's
ahead
still
of
better.
what,
I can
yeah.
still look at a Pixel phone and immediately I'm like, oh look, there's little icons up there. There's something I haven't dealt with yet.
Yep.
Apple's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Doesn't Apple just give you like a dot or something?
I think I don't know.
I like David's
I
solution though. Just stop using notifications.
yeah, I mean that's basically what I've done. Just don't look at those very often.
It's funny because I remember, not that this is a good example of anything, but I remember when David Ruddock did he did a iPhone review. I think it was for the iPhone 10, or more accurately known as the iPhone X. Could have been a different one, but I'm pretty sure it was that one. He got it, did a review, and somewhere in there he said the thing that I both hate and like about this phone is that it forced me to stop using notifications. And it's like,
Yeah.
yep, that sounds about right.
It's so bizarre. Like even when I think back to like Android ice cream sandwich, like the notifications on there were pretty sweet. If you didn't, you could just your notifications were on one thing and all of your control system tiles were just on a completely other screen, and you could just hide the one you weren't using. It was great. I guess I really don't know what Apple's doing here. Especially on like the iPad, it's especially silly there. Like you've got so much screen up there for little status icons you can give me, and you will just not do that. Yeah, so I would like those changes. Probably not going to get that.
I'm sure you won't.
As far as like watch stuff goes, I mean, my Apple Watch is fine. I don't, it's a smartwatch. It's there. It's got a slightly buggy version of Authy on it, which is nice. I don't have to go find my phone if I need a two-factor code. The Pocket Cast and Spotify controller things are pretty nice. I have actually used that a fair bit if I'm like, I'm doing just like cleanup around my apartment and my phone's just on a charger somewhere and I've got the earbuds in and I'm like, I want to go to the next podcast episode now. I could just click. So that's always nice. I'm kind of interested in this rumor about different widgets because it kind of sounds like, well, they say widgets will be scrollable and allow more. This is Mac Rumor summarizing what I'm sure is a Mark Gurman article from a month ago. They say widgets will be scrollable and will allow glances at activity tracking, weather, calendar appointments, and more, which sounds like Wear. It sounds like Wear OS.
Yeah.
Where just you have just a list of widgets and you go between them, and each one is like its own little like page thing, which was fine on Wear. Like when I was using a Wear watch, that was perfectly decent UI, especially when you can customize the position and turn the ones off you don't care about. And apps could theoretically add more, but none of them really did. So like if Apple wants to copy that, I'm good with that. Um, but yeah, and I think there is also potential for other Macs that were not the Air, but I forget what. Oh yeah, maybe the Mac Pro. I don't know if that's real or not.
Uh, I frankly I don't think we're going to hear anything about the Mac Pro until the fall.
Yeah.
Not that you care necessarily, or too many people at all care. Like that's something only a bunch of YouTubers are going to bother buying. But yeah, I think when they finally do a Mac Pro, an M1 based Mac Pro, I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the form of like it's going to get an event. They're going to want to do an event just to hype up how absurdly powerful it is, which will be capped with a price tag that is going to make anyone's sphincter clench up like a noose around a neck. Like, it is going to be so nutty how expensive that gets. But hey, yeah, it'll probably be pretty worth it too for anyone that needs it.
Or Apple just ends the event and the price is like, contact your IT administrator. like exactly how all the websites for like corporate equipment go. Like, hey, reach out to your authorized reseller to if you're interested in placing bulk orders. Like it's like that, where it's like, no, normal people, you will not buy this. This is not for you. Don't ask. We built this because Pixar was really bugging us about an M1 Mac Pro.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a I guess it would actually be an M2 Mac Pro, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, and some part of me just wants, I know they would never say this, but it would just be hilarious if they're like, we will also accept trade-ins in the form of Teslas. Just bring in your car, you can leave with a computer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so many of the things that
imagine that computer and buying the wheels for it. Insane.
Oh my god, no,
not the wheels.
Oh god, how much were those things? They were ridiculous.
I remember the monitor stand was $1,000. I don't remember what the wheel was. Let me see. Just do a Google search for Mac wheel. Yes, Apple Mac Pro wheel kit. This is $699.
Yeah,
is the wheels.
I think that sounds right. The mere fact that they thought that was okay, though the monitor stand I think is still just so comically stupid. That was offensive.
That's more offensive, I think, because like really that. Well, I don't know actually, because if I'm trying to gauge this out, like both of these are completely absurd. But I was like, okay, well the wheels have moving parts. But I was like, no, wait, the stand does too because it tilts.
Well, so the wheels, at least, I mean, consider some of the different things that you've bought that have wheels, like the casters on a chair. Honestly, a lot of chair casters are garbage.
My wheelies, Cody, my wheelies.
There you go. Yeah. You know, we haven't made Wee Corbin jokes in forever, so don't bring those back.
I don't actually own wheelies.
I didn't think so.
But yeah.
Well, let's be honest, because this is true. If you're over a certain height, wheelies become a really bad idea. And you're what, 6'2", 6'1"?
I think just 6.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like, if you honestly, like, once you as a person get over about 5'4" having wheelies becomes a really dangerous idea. Anyway, let's see. But yeah, the wheels, at least if you make them premium enough, there's a good argument to be made for, yeah, sure, why not? That's actually a credible thing.
like I would imagine the wheels would probably get more wear, maybe.
I mean,
I
they
don't
had a
know. Like
locking
I don't.
mechanism, so and how often
Yeah.
do you actually wheel your Mac Pro out?
Well, if you're buying the wheels, surely you have to be wheeling it somewhat often, I would imagine.
You might just be
Or
buying them
maybe.
so that it's more convenient to wheel it out when you need access to the back of it, which could still be inconsistent.
Man, that's a level of like privilege I can't comprehend right now. It's like,
Yes,
man,
or
I, I
accessibility.
I'm yeah. It's like, man, I might need to move this computer one day. Time to spend $700.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. Maybe the. I don't know how heavy that monitor is. Maybe the wheels also carry a lot more weight. So like, I, I don't know. That is a question for the ages. What is more offensive, the $700 wheels or the $100 monitors? With the wheels, you get 4 wheels. Monitor stand. That's just one stand.
Yeah.
So, argument to be made, I guess. This is truly something our greatest philosophers will have to argue.
I mean, to be fair, you're paying $150 per. Or wait, no, is that right? No, you're paying $175. Is that the right math? I think it's $175 per wheel.
700 divided by 4 is 175
Woohoo! Yay, I can do math.
per wheel. That's more reasonable. This is exactly. I mean, that's literally what car companies do when they're like, get the new, Ford. It's only 120 a month. Don't look at how many months, please.
Oh, geez. But yeah. Anyway, thank you, Austin, for the link.
And Verizon.
Yeah.
Where they're like, our new phone plan is $20 a month if you have a family of 7.
Yeah. AT&T does this too, so
They all do. Yeah, they're all bad.
But...
Yeah. So basically, nothing here for me. It seems like is what this event will turn into. Maybe some good iPhone and iPad stuff. Maybe because there's not a lot of that does seem to leak out yet.
Yeah, when you look at the list of things, I mean, I'll just super speed through this. The things that Mac Rumors has on their list: smart display lock screen option when the phone is horizontal orientation and locked. We talked about that a week or two ago. Basically, they're trying to simulate what you can do with a Nest Hub. But honestly, I don't think this is really as much for the phone. I mean, it could be. It certainly could be. But I think that this is more of a iPad feature that they're probably going to try to roll out more to iPads. Dedicated journaling app for tracking and recording daily activities and thoughts. Who cares? Updated control center interface. That's good, but it's minor. More functionality for the dynamic island. Oh, God. More interactive widgets. Okay. Search improvements. I don't think they're even going to talk about that. Health app to expand to the iPad. So what? Health app will include new mood tracking functionality, asking users about their day and tallying up the results over time. Corbin, you could use this.
I'm glad. I was going to say, I'd be like, you know what? This week I'm not tracking my mental health in Apple.
Yes.
It's gonna be
it
exactly
might automatically
like
refer you to help. Health features for tracking vision changes. I mean, that's kind of interesting, but really? Minor lock screen updates such as font size tweaks and option to share lock screen designs. Are you effing kidding me? Apple Music lock screen interface to possibly gain support for lyrics. Manual adjustment options.
Google crying in the club with these improvements.
Oh,
Android's
God,
dead. Android's dead.
Manual adjustment options for app library folders. More streamlined and intuitive wallet app. Find My improvements. and support for sideloading apps in Europe, which
Can they get? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what that's gonna turn into. Maybe that's something I'll get to play with, but probably not. But yeah. Okay. Honestly, now that I think about it, can I get a wallet app on my Mac, please? Why?
Oh, yes.
That's so like literally a week ago, or like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I don't have a scale of time anymore. But at some point in the past, I purchased a subscription to Ivory on my Mac. And I was trying to figure out, because I've switched my bank account info recently, I was like, what payment method is this using? No clue. I don't know where you find that in Mac. I looked around. There's like, Apple has like kind of a sort of wallet function area in like your Apple ID stuff in the settings, but it's not like anywhere near what you get on the wallet app on a phone. And of course there's all the like Apple Card shit in wallet now, so it's like, please put the wallet app on the computer, please.
Yes. It's
that
long
needs to
past
happen.
time to do this.
Yeah, because like I don't know if anyone's told Apple, but sometimes people buy things from the computer.
And sometimes those people are not iPhone owners.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I technically have one, and it technically does access wallet. Though, I came across an interesting discovery. If you have an Apple Card, as I do, and you're set up on an iPhone using Daily Cash and whatever, apparently you cannot use their new high interest savings account that Daily Cash can just like automatically deposit into. You just can't use that if you have an iPhone that's too old. Like you still get the other features, but
because the saving stuff was added in an iOS update.
Yeah, that feature is locked off, and it's like, are you what? Really?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's the classic, if you have an iPhone too old. It's almost like the rich get richer in a very weirdly literal way.
That's very silly. So yeah, give me a wallet app on the Mac. Give me good notifications on my phone, please. I don't watch seems fine. If you wanna make the watch better, that's cool. But it works for me right now. It's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, the thing is though, I did that entire list, and aside from the fact you and I are surely very interested in the sideloading part, which may be Europe only, probably going to be Europe only. Aside from that, like, most of this stuff is not actually really interesting. I'm sure they will be able to make some neat, like, animations and demos for the dynamic island. Yay. And I'm sure that they will have some other, little bits to show off, but these are a couple minutes a piece. Most of this stuff is really just not going to get a lot of attention. So I just don't think they're going to have a lot to announce. Or rather, they're saving a lot of the stuff that they would announce. And it's all going to go to the headset.
Yep. Still, really, the only Apple thing I care about this year is USB-C iPhone. That's it.
Yeah, you won't hear anything about that until the fall of it.
No. And, still have to decide, am I getting normal USB-C iPhone or am I getting Pro USB-C iPhone? That's the one I'm still wrestling with. We'll see where I am financially in a few months, I guess. Because like that is one thing. Oh, my dehumidifier just turned on automatically. I need to turn that off. It's very humid in here. It's officially summer. Okay. Because like one thing that's been interesting is like I've always been cut off from like most of the cool camera stuff coming to smartphones, because for basically forever I've been using either budget phones, uh, Pixel slash Nexus phones, which never had cutting edge cameras until like recent Pixels, like they started adding more lenses and stuff.
I would argue the original Pixel in the time
Oh yeah,
that it came out.
yeah, that was great for the time. But yeah, and then I was using Samsung phones for a couple years, and I was using the smallest S phone, which is always the one that has the worst cameras.
Oh boy,
and then
I had an experience with that. Yeah,
and then I now have this SE, which has this one little baby camera, which is fine for normal outdoor photos and not much else. So I might end up treating myself, and I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna get the cool cameras, because also Samsung has not discovered this, but Apple makes a large phone and a slightly smaller phone, not a small phone, and you can get the good cameras on the smaller phone. Samsung has not discovered this technology, nor most other phone manufacturers. That's not a small phone, but I've accepted in my heart that that's just not going to happen anymore. So that's fine.
Yeah.
And like I don't. Yeah, and I'll have to go like to a Best Buy or Apple store and see what the sizes are like now. But like, I don't hate like larger phones. I get used to them after a couple of weeks. They're fine. It's really just the brick ones, like when we're getting to like a Samsung Note sized phone, that I really don't like. Like I've never had like an S Ultra or a Note or that kind of phone, but I've had reviewed a lot of like Android phones that have like a well over 6-inch screens, and I hate all of them. I can see the appeal if like your phone is your mostly only computer. Totally get that. That's not me. Or if you have some vision impairment or something, and you just need really, really big text, more power to you. I don't personally need a phone that big or want one.
See, to me, this is still one of those things where I believe me, I get where a lot of people are coming from on this. The idea of carrying around something the size of an iPhone SE, like this thing's neat and tiny. It feels like like a slightly oversized business card, and that's kind of nice. I do like that in a way.
Yeah, like I like my SE3, which is like iPhone 6 or 7 size. I don't know, but one of those. But like I'm running into the problem where it's like the world is moving on.
Yeah.
Like when I have this on so like this ships with like a crazy display scale where like I almost have to squint to read words. So I turned it up, but then I get to the problem where like enough sites and apps are like not designed for this clearly whatsoever, where I run into roadblocks. Like, okay, the world has decided that like I can't get this small of a phone with a normal viewing size. I need to get something bigger. So I've accepted that in my heart, and I will take that under consideration. But,
yeah. So, yeah.
And also, I don't need a big phone because I have a tablet and a laptop and a computer. So that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So all things considered, like, I get why people want small phones. The portability is nice, and the things that you necessarily need to be able to do on a phone, a lot of times a small phone actually can probably cover it. And when I say need to, I'm talking about calling, texting, though I would even argue messaging these days kind of encourages larger screens. Thanks to a combination of emoji, sending like actual high quality photos, etc., etc.
It's true. If I open Discord on this phone, and go to try to type something, I see the last two messages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a phenomenal example. Even on my Pixel 7 Pro, opening Discord, once you're typing, that is a let's see. When the keyboard pops up, switch to a channel where I can actually do this. Yeah, keyboard pops up, I'd say I get about it's maybe about a third of the screen that's the actual message window, between the top of it being taken by the channel title and the lower 2/3 just completely dominated by keyboard. Admittedly, I could turn off a little bit of this keyboard and reclaim a tiny bit of space, but yeah, there's not a lot of space here. And yeah, I mean, this is on a big screen.
Yeah.
You're trying to do this on a screen so small, it's a miracle you have a window of text that you can see. So yeah, that's also kind of the issue, is once you get into almost any other use of a phone, all the apps are designed to give you a lot of stuff around the edges. A lot of apps have features that just don't really cater to having a tiny screen. So yeah, that's kind of the catch. I feel like you're sort of perpetually in a bad position on this, which is also the reason, and I know I keep banging this drum, but it's the reason I think that folding phones eventually kind of have to take over. Not take over completely, but I think they will become fairly mainstream, purely because people are going to look at it and go, well, I want the thing that feels small and is convenient to carry, but I also want to be able to have big ass screen for when I need it.
Yep. Yeah, so I got to think about how many hundreds of dollars I want to spend on a phone later this year. We'll see.
Oh, don't worry. I don't even see a reason you need to think about it in hundreds of dollars, because they'll all the ones you'll be looking at are over 1,000.
Oh yeah. But it's fine, Cody, because I get that 5% on Apple Card now. Let's go.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
It's not 5%.
Oh, it's 3, right?
Yeah.
Is it 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
3%. Wow. It'll be a whole $5.
You were feeling so good about it till I blew it.
I know. 5% is such a totally different number than 3.
Well, hey, on the plus side, when you get that percent back, it goes into a high yield savings account, assuming you set that up.
Nope.
You may as well actually set that up, though. Unless you take the money out and promptly do something with it.
No, well, that all my money's in my savings account that has almost the exact same APY now. Except I can look at it on my computer. How about that?
Yes. Huge
other
wins.
banks discovering what Apple has not yet found yet.
So anyway, yeah. I'm certainly looking forward to the event, because I know you say you aren't interested in the AR/VR headset. I'm not interested in buying one, in that sense of I have zero ability to afford it, and I don't think it's going to be a very good experience for at least the first year. Probably 2, very likely 3, but I do want to see where this goes. This is the first company that is, I think, offering a compelling argument against the Oculus stuff that Meta is putting out. And don't get me wrong, I think of like PlayStation VR, and that is supposedly a pretty damn good experience, and especially the new one. But that is purely for gaming. It has no other purpose. You're just meant to sit in a chair and use it. You're not supposed to get up and move around. You're not supposed to do a lot with it. It is just for that like seated immersive experience. At least as far as I know, I don't think there's a moving around component. But yeah, I look at what Apple's doing here, and I'm hoping, really, really hoping that it'll have good enough resolution for us to maybe use it for productivity purposes. I've talked about this before. I would love to have floating monitors in front of me. Like, that to me eliminates the need necessarily to have widescreen displays or ultra wides. It could remove the need to have a big ass screen. I love that idea. I want that so much. There are a lot of things that I think would be would be beneficial to this, and so I want to see the technology happen. I want to see it grow. I just don't think the first iteration is going to be that good. So I do want to see this. I want to see what they do with it. Just waiting to see how much they do. Waiting to see if Apple makes a compelling argument here. Also, in full disclosure, I have in recent days sold my Google stock because I think that was going to not go appreciably up for the next couple of weeks, and I have bought Apple stock. So I'm also hoping Apple does something that makes the stock price go up.
Gotta have a disclosure statement on the RambleCast.
May as well. I mean, it's not like it's going to matter even if Apple stock skyrockets, I'm going to make like $5. So I don't care that much, but hey.
Maybe I'll buy Apple stock. I'll think about it. All my Nvidia and AMD stock just sold because there's a tiny bubble burst on those. People are like, wait a minute, is Nvidia really worth $1 trillion? And everyone went, maybe not right now.
Yeah, there was definitely an overbuy on the Nvidia stock, but I think it's legitimate. It's just like they're going to have that up and down for a little bit until there's kind of that proof positive. Oh yeah, no, for real. All the companies are just now buying GPUs to run those servers. At which point, I think the stock will actually just stabilize up there. Then Nvidia will split the stock, and yeah. It'll become price reasonable again. Oh, do not compare me to Kramer. Do not. That dude is so famously wrong about everything. Cody
rule, let's go.
What'd you say?
Inverse Cody rule.
Yeah. Oh god, who was it? I think Jon Stewart did a quick video segment, or somebody did, showing Kramer predicting all these things that were going to be like supposedly huge hits. The stuff that he listed was Silicon Valley Bank like a day or two before it crashed. He listed FTX like the week before Sam Bankman-Fried got indicted and the whole thing crashed. He listed like it's just a bunch of things, all of which crashed within a day to a week of when he said, everyone needs to buy these now.
Yeah. I wish I could be paid to be wrong all the time. That'd be pretty cool.
I know, right?
I'm in the wrong business.
Clearly, we just need to like go get a bunch of dumb props and loud noisemakers and just start yelling into our mics all the time about stuff, because who cares if we're right or wrong?
Oh, Alex Jones. Okay. I wasn't gonna go that far, but that's fine too. He seems to be making okay money.
Well, he's
making okay money. The deficit is
yeah. Also, dude's got to have throat cancer, right? I mean,
probably.
Whatever the hell's happened to that voice.
Not gonna do the fake low Rush Limbaugh voice for you, Cody. I'm sorry.
Okay. CEO of TechTales can't be wrong. Nice. But yeah, I do anyway. I do see, I think Apple's probably going to make the stock market happy because they're doing the AR VR headset. I think that's going to last just long enough until people realize, oh wait, they didn't say a damn thing about AI and that's all we care about. At which point I think the stock will go right back down. But you never know.
Yep. Yeah, so my butt hurts. I'm going to go now. You can wrap up if you want, or I can just leave.
Well, I'm going to I'm going to mention one dumb thing really quick, just because, in case anyone for some batshit reason cares about this. I have posted my first TikTok. Yeah, I don't know why I'm even bothering to mention this, but there was a contest put on by Rode. They make microphones, and they basically challenge people to make a TikTok or an Instagram reel, but weirdly nobody posted to Instagram. Like nobody, literally 0 posts, which I think is very telling about Instagram actually. Anyway, so
from what I understand, that's just entirely reposting TikToks. So
at this point it kind of is, yeah. Anyway, so their whole thing was to quote unquote capture your calm. So I made a thing about a hike through some woods to a waterfall, and I did some sound design, which I did all of this like rushed, and I think I bit off more than I could chew for trying to do this in just a couple of hours, but it came out okay. All of this was filmed on a not great phone, for reasons, because of their rules for the contest. Regardless, I did also shoot it using the Insta360 Flow gimbal. Blah blah blah. The biggest thing about it is I tried to do sound design with it. So you get a little bit more of the like footsteps, you get a little bit more of the sound, things like that. If you're an ASMR fan, you might find this interesting for a minute or two. And also I made the terrible mistake of making this long. It's like 2 minutes and something seconds, which holy crap is way too long for TikTok. Anyway, it doesn't matter if people like it or not. That's not part of the contest. I'm just pointing this out in case anybody cares. That's as much as I had to say on it. Though this, when I was saying earlier about Corbin doing the like, hey, I finally got tired of editing and I just deleted the last chunk of it. This is absolutely what happened to me last night while I was editing this. I got to a point where it's like, you know what? I've done enough. I'm not going to clean up the last few parts any more than I've already done. I'm not going to clip down a couple of segments that I could, and I'm not going to clean up a few of the segments or add zooms or various other movement like I could. Screw it. I'm done. Publish. Sometimes you just hit that mode, and I did. Anyway, so yeah, that covers that. When are we getting the Cody cut? Oh God. When am I going to start doing TikTok challenges? Well, clearly you have not found my other channel where I do nothing but dance challenges and dub smashes. I'm all about the dub smash.
Cody only does the TikTok challenges that involve property damage.
Oh yeah, that would actually be a good one.
Yeah.
Especially living here in Oregon as I do, because who doesn't want to to watch stuff burn?
Cody, the right-wing protester.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But hey,
with the username Cody definitely Antifa.
Ooh, it's got a ring to it. I mean, yeah. There's a sound to that I like.
No one would ever suspect a thing.
Yeah. Oh, but anyway, so yeah, I don't know, just something I posted. I might start posting to TikTok, now that they're about to get banned. That would be perfect. Actually, no.
Feels like the right time to invest.
Yes, this is exactly the perfect time to invest in it. But no, seriously, I think this will be more or less a one-off for TikTok, but I am actually going to start posting YouTube videos pretty soon. I have a couple things planned. I've already got a little bit of footage shot. I know I've said this before about a Pixel review, which never managed to materialize. But I'm getting faster at editing. and it's making more and more sense to start doing this, especially since I have a couple of neat embargo devices hopefully coming shortly. So anyway, with that said, that is it for this round of the Ramble. As usual, if you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. And also, we talked about stocks. If you'd like to sign up and get $3 worth of free stock, there's a link there for a referral. Anyway, Corbin, do you have anything you want to pitch or talk about?
I sufficiently plugged things.
Yes.
Yeah. Go listen to Tech Tales. TechTalesShow.com. That's where all the links are.
So yeah, with that, thank you all for coming by, being part of the conversation, joining us and chatting with us. Hopefully, I will be back this weekend for some game streams, and hopefully Corbin and I will be back next Wednesday for all kinds of dub conversation. I'm sure we will have a lot to say about a headset neither one of us can afford or even really want to get.
Yeah.
Unless Apple suddenly announces, like, no, seriously, ultra-wide simulation mode is part of this, at which point I want it, like, on my body.
At least Dub is not on the same day as the stream. Like it was for IO. That's
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I honestly, I do think for the future, the day after is just going to become an automatic thing. Because trying to cover it on the same day as the event is rough. But anyway.
Yep.
So with that, we're going to say goodbye to Corbin. We're going to say goodbye to me because I'm taking off too so I can finish some work. And goodbye to all of you beautiful people. We will see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.